We got another clip here, which I titled Brian Callen sucks off the boys and Brendan bigs them up while dissing Pat McAfee. Right? Fucking complex, you know, and very all over the place sentence. But when you listen to the clip, you see what I mean here. Let me just scroll along. Was it 43:12? Let's do it around here. Let's do 43:9. So it's a very interesting clip. Again, Brendan's ability to like be a supreme hater is all on show here. And my assertion that I've always going to die on this hill, I honestly do think Brendan is more of a hater than the worst poster that you can find on the T-Fat-K subreddit. I think he's worse than all those guys because he tries to at least those guys, myself included, because I'm on that sub a lot, at least it comes from just a plain point of like, okay, you just dislike this person. Brendan tries to kind of hide it in like being appreciative and, you know, trying to hide it and being supportive and saying encouraging words. But deep down, the guy is a jealous, envious, very hate-filled person, in my opinion. And I think it comes out in little spurts. You see little bits and pieces. This is a good example of it. So hear this.
I think with podcasts, like the advice we got in the beginning was be consistent, and with just the level of consistency, and then getting guys like you,
I'll give you a compliment. I'll give you both a compliment.
Consistency for sure.
You have that thing that very few people have when it comes. Podcasts don't work with most people, and some people like you guys, chemistry and also just your personalities, it just works. I knew that the day I did your podcast. Some people just are able to do it. You guys listen. You add stuff. It's a dance.
There's a chemistry, and especially with your knowledge. But I think this is the future of sports as far as broadcasting goes. Like what Pat McAfee's doing. I'm not taking anything away from Pat or anything from you guys. In the locker rooms I've been in, there's a lot of guys like that, man. There's a lot of guys who can fucking talk. They're funny. They're smart. I know the whole meathead jock thing is there. I'm telling you, I've been in some locker rooms, whether it's UFC, NFL, I was there for 2 weeks. But in college, where there's some dudes.
Call it a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee.
Or a cup of
They're all set on slow white guys. But there's some dudes in those locker rooms where I'm like, man, put a mic in front of them. They're going to crush it.
Oh, yeah.
There's those guys. They just got to be pushing that direction. I think when players see you guys doing it, they're seeing what Pat's doing and the real money coming in. They're like, oh, this is a lane I can go down. It's like, yeah, dude. You're seeing. I think you're seeing a lot more guys
are doing it.
You got to give credit.
So is Brendan basically telling him, hey, you guys make it look so easy, right? More other guys who are funnier than you are going to crush it because they're seeing you doing it. Isn't that like a backhanded compliment? Right? Am I not seeing that the same way? Isn't that a backhanded compliment? You guys are kind of redacted, but you're making a lot of money. You're really successful. You get a lot of views. And you're not even the most funniest guys I've seen, because I've seen way funnier guys in locker rooms. I've been to many of locker rooms. And honestly, when they see you, they're going to all want to do it. Like, isn't that what people say about Brendan? Like, other comedians have seen him be really good, so really successful in comedy, even though he's fucking horrible at stand-up. And they've probably thought, hold on, if I could be even 5% funnier than this guy, I should be able to kill it too. What an odd compliment to give people. And it's funny because Brian starts off sucking them off by being quite complimentary and giving them props and saying, hey, it's not just consistency. You guys have clearly got it. You got something special, which is true, right? They've obviously got good fucking chemistry. They're both very charismatic, Will and Taylor. They're obviously quite knowledgeable. They've got a good sense of humor. We all can see why they're successful, right? So he's clearly giving the big up. Why would you say what he said, Brendan? Why would you try to denigrate Pat McAfee and make it seem like Pat McAfee and these guys are just like, there's so many, like, first of all, I dispute that in the first place, that there's many people out there that have the charisma and the funny to just get on stage or get in front of a camera and be good and captivate an audience. It's clearly not for everybody, right? Clearly not to everybody, because some people just don't like to speak on camera. Some people don't like the negative attention. Some people just aren't bothered, whatever. It's just not for everybody. But then to use that as a sort of way to compliment them, but then to also denigrate them, but then to also say everybody else can do it is fucking insane. And that to me is a sign of his haterism creeping out. He doesn't want to say it outright, but he kind of lets it slip when he does stuff like that. You kind of hear the kind of jealousy, because like the Pat McAfee thing, like people always say on the sub, I've said it myself because I don't really know much about the guy, but I watch his show here and there on YouTube and how he's regarded, how people speak to him. Really and truly, Brendan should be Pat McAfee. in terms of the UFC. That's how he should be regarded. How should he be seen? But he's not. He's not well liked by fans. He's not probably well liked by other fighters. Like, he's just kind of despised by the management there. They know clearly would take pleasure in booting him out on camera if he ever stepped in foot at at a UFC fucking pay-per-view event or something. Like, it's odd. So people always compare Brendan to Pat McAfee and say, why can't Brendan be more like Pat McAfee? He's fucking awesome. And then these guys come along, Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, how you pronounce his name. And people say that probably the same thing about him. Like, why can't Brendan be like these guys? These guys seem cool as well. So he probably hears that, sees that, and then kind of says in a back kind of compliment type of way, you guys aren't that special. I've seen many guys like you out there before, and when those guys see you do your thing and they see you kill it, they're gonna want to do it because they're like, if those guys can do it, they're not funny, I can do it. Insane compliment, insane horrible compliment. What are you guys saying here? Pat McAfee had Ariel Helwani on talking shit about Papa. That's why, yeah, oh, true, good point, Marty Moose. How could I not remember that? Exactly, yeah, true. Big up Austin Casey, brother. Appreciate you.
I never hated Brendan. I just thought he was annoying and obnoxious. But when I saw that clip where he scoffs at Chappelle Lacey for wanting to jam with Travis Barker, that made me a real homeless cat.
Big up Austin Casey. I appreciate for the $10 super chat. Sorry about the yawn. I've got a very controversial opinion on this one, and I don't know if this is gonna sound hatery, but I think I'm just being honest. Because I watch a lot of locals, and I watch a lot of local content, DSP, Wings Redemption included, right? There's a sub-community, there's a sub-sect of fans or detractors who watch locals who say that you should never, not hate. Yeah, they say that you should never hate on locals, or like despise them, or like not want to be successful and stuff, right? And want to see them out on the streets or having to get a regular job. I don't think that makes sense, personally. I think sometimes you can encounter somebody on the internet, you don't know them, you just know them for their content, and from what they show you of themselves online, you're perfectly within your right to say that you don't like them, or even to say the big H word, hate. Now, is it a fucking useful way to kind of go about your life? Is it going to bring you any happiness in your own life? Probably not. But you're allowed to see somebody not like what they say, not like how they act, not like what they do, and say, I'm not a fan, I hate them. It's perfectly reasonable to do that, because I feel like it's two sides of this. It's one side of an emotion. Like, one way you can be a stan and a super fan and love everything someone does, and you can also hate them on the other side, where you kind of legitimately go out of your way to wish nothing but misery and pain on their life. I think that's completely fine, and I think some people can just press your buttons to that point. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit wrong in this thing. I think sometimes for myself, I'm just as a former fan, I just get more fun out of this from just laughing. I don't think about this guy after I stream. I'm not here wishing that he kind of gets fired or doesn't have a house anymore, has to get a job. That's not my thing. I just am more so intrigued with him as a human, because all the traits that he has, all the things that he does, I go out of my way not to do. I try my best not to be a douche. I try my best not to lie. I try my best to always be honest. I try my best to kind of work for the stuff that I do and not kind of try and fake it till you make it. Like, I'm not worried about people. Like, all this stuff, I don't name drop. I don't ask, like, I don't know. We're just opposite in how we view the world. So he's more fascinating to me to watch as a person. Like, oh my God, I can't believe a human exists. That's like kind of like, especially being a former fan, because I started off liking the guy as a fan, and then you get older, you start to get more experience, you start to see him grow up, you start to see him get more money, then he changes and you're like, hold on, I don't like you anymore. But it doesn't go any further than that. It's just, you're not maybe a fan of his content, but I'm not wishing any ill will. But I also think if you do hate the guy, it's perfectly reasonable to hate him, because he does a lot of things that are quite hateable. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit toxic there, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, especially when you find out people make loads more money than you ever will do in your fucking lifetime and shit, it can be difficult to watch these type of people and not feel that way. I can understand it. Don't get me wrong. It's not a useful emotion. It's not going to get you anywhere in your life. It's not going to help you get closer to your dreams. But if you actually feel like that, you're allowed to feel that way. You're in your right to feel that way. Not that you need my permission, but I think it's a totally reasonable emotion to kind of look at a locale, look at someone like a Dark Side Phil, for instance, who's scamming his fans, crying poor all the time. He's spending all his money on fucking gambling sites and, you know, mobile gaming nonsense, and, you know, taking advantage of people that are clearly, you know, on the spectrum or mentally disabled and shit. Like all this type of stuff. It's not a bad thing to kind of wish ill will on that person because they do a lot of bad things to other people. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Everyone turns homeless eventually. Exactly, Jordan. My Moose says, only locals I watch is Papa. If I saw him in real life, I wouldn't only try getting a goofy pic with him to post on T-Fat-K. No selfies, exactly. True, I wouldn't give a fuck. I'll just keep walking. It's not that deep for me, to be honest. I would just pass by. I only hate him because he looks like someone who bullied me in high school. Yeah. No, you only hate him because he does too many podcasts. They make it easy to root against. Exactly, Yoshi. That's the thing. They make it easy to root against them. It's not difficult to be liked, man. I swear to God, it's not difficult. You don't get me wrong. You don't have to keep hiding your evil tendencies, but they go out of their way to be fucking cunts, and you know people respond and don't like it. I think it's perfectly fine. Anyway, moving on. What were you saying? I don't like Papa because he works harder than me. He's a white boy that works too hard.